What's up guys, welcome back. This is Anime Fiction. You'll be watching What If Naruto Trained Amazons as a God. The end, now let's begin. Chapter 22. Third paw of a horn was heard all around the earth. The mortals of the world stare up to the sky in astonishment, thinking of a sign from their own gods, whilst the godly understand what music is. Over in the far east, on an island nearly shaped like the English letter J, sits an exceedingly royal queen on a brilliant, sun-stricken throne. Hundreds of men and women of all sizes, and several warriors, all clothed in wonderfully made kimonos with wooden clogs on their feet. Horn sounds, people's murmurs resound across their existing location. The temple where these people congregate is atop the tallest mountains in their odd but lovely nation. Please, my friends, be silent. What you've all heard is something we knew would happen. There's no reason to worry. A guy completely dressed in medieval crimson samurai armor, carrying a strange bow on his back. A query emerges from the audience, directed at the royal woman. What does this hornblow mean, my lords? It means, some of the gods to the west are about to die, a guy murmured, sitting next to the royal queen. Enough, Susanoo. What this indicates is that the Norse gods are going to face a severe war. Murmurs about other gods begin. I wonder what they look like. HMPH, they can't possibly match up to our might, so why should we care? These continue for a while until a serene voice interrupts. I would ask of you all to please stop. The woman seated on the throne addresses the audience. Even though the lady just requested a pause, everyone's muttering ceases instantly, demonstrating their respect for her. Shall we interfere and help, my empress? The guy in samurai armor asks the empress. After a few minutes of thought, she responds, no, we'll wait until after. Chances are, many pantheons will want to capitalize on the unfortunate Asgardians. The guy on the opposite side of her informs her. Yes, we get that, Tsukuyomi. We are not dumb. The second guy informs him from the other side of the lady. I was inferring you are stupid, Susanoo. I was just being. It's okay, Tsukuyomi. I've already known that many pantheons might try to capitalize on the Norse. The lady on the throne stops the guy beside her. Yes, of course, Lady Amaterasu. Over in the countries bordering Egypt, the Yoruba gods convene to discuss the noises they have just heard. Lord Olorun, what will we do? The Norse have dragged themselves into a conflict with both cold and hot giants. Not even considering the dead, who will start to invade. Perhaps that small rainbow they have will bring us to Asgard, or Asgard, as you call it. I am convinced that old guy Odin has a lot of gold and wisdom to claim. Gods from many pantheons discuss the Norse gods' troubles and reflect on what they signify. Celtics, Africans, Aztecs, Buddhists, Berbers, Burmese, Shinto, Greeks, and Egyptians all believed in helping the Norse gods, capitalizing on their failures, or remaining neutral, while some pantheons such as the Incan, Maya, Roman, and Slavic believed in going to war and wiping out all Norse along with their various tree dimensions or realms. However, each pantheon decided to wait until the main players were gone, particularly Odin, the god of many things but primarily war and wisdom, and Thor, the god of thunder, strength, sacred groves, and fertility. Back in the previous realm of perpetual winter, Naruto stands in front of the gigantic wave and the big, giant snake. I don't understand you, I don't speak broken. Oh. Once again Jormungandr interrupts the little, feeble object in front of it and begins to spew his toxic breath on the earth in front of him. It spreads down the shore and eventually reaches the mainland, leaving a trail of death in its wake. From the tiniest living organisms, such as plankton, to the biggest whales, all died, intoxicated by the horrible breath. Just as he was ready to launch his attack on the mainland, 5 massive barbed sword-like constructions sprang from the earth and shot all the way to the snake. It defends itself from the gigantic blades by raising a portion of its massive body. None of them leave a single scratch. You just blew that mist into my face. If you kowtow to this illustrious father, destroy your cultivation and cut off a piece of your body and give me your spatial ring and your jade beauty girl with you, and I might let you go. Naruto begins to channel the young master's Tao to combat the large serpent. Jormungandr, unable to comprehend the little guy, charges the tiny creature, causing the water to change chaotically. When Naruto sees the oncoming serpent, he starts to prepare for a severe battle that Thor is meant to be facing. Speaking of Thor, he must be coming now. The snake glances to the sky, hoping to see his famous opponent. The sky starts to swiftly develop clouds, as if a massive storm is about to commence. A voice echoes from the sky. The snake, still attempting to discover its food, is abruptly struck so hard that the impact sends a shockwave. Jormungandr's head snaps back from the impact of the abrupt strike. The snake captures the culprit of the assault. Haijsakkhai. The snake's eyes expand when he realizes that the attack was done with a little hammer. He sees the hammer fly into the sky, maybe back into the thrower's hand, and exits from the storm. A round, well-built guy with massive black hair on his head and chin and tattoos all over his body. "Today is your end, foul creature," he yells as he starts to spin the hammer using a strap at the bottom. The wind begins to build up, and numerous F5 tornadoes develop, heading toward the snake. Naruto notices this and begins to use his abilities. Thousands of gate-like portals appear around Naruto, with a random weapon sticking out of each one. Magical swords, spears, halberds, knives, and even siege weapons like catapults, ballistas, trebuchets, and scorpions emerge from the larger port. Thor, unknowing of the deity underneath him, tosses his hammer and holds onto it, signaling the start of the tremendous fight that would follow. Naruto, watching Thor charge, raises Chaos Eater to the skies. Blood starts to erupt from the blade, and after a few seconds, millions of tons of blood appear on the ground, morphing into millions of zombie warriors. Fire. All of the magically upgraded weapons are aimed toward the huge serpent and Thor. Thor, who has years of expertise sensing assaults from behind, spins around to find thousands of guns aimed at him and the serpent. Thor raises his hammer in front of him, as lightning trails from it, attempting to destroy the weapons approaching him. After successfully dissolving the weapons in golden particles, he discovers the individual responsible. The snake whips a portion of his body at the flying deity, causing him to blast straight into the sea. But the snake is struck by thousands of weapons, which manage to inflict little wounds on his scales. Thor rushes out instantly towards Naruto, anticipating the assault, and levels his big sword in front of him. Just as Thor and his hammer are about to bash into him, the giant sword vanishes, and a circular shield and a shield emerge. Naruto turns around the extended arm, clutching the hammer, cocking back, rotating his hips, and slamming the magical shield into Thor's face. The force and speed of the strike, along with Thor's speed when it smashed into him, sends him several feet into the earth. Looking through the hole, Naruto detects a behind-the-back assault and quickly turns around, just managing to raise his barrier to defend himself from the giant snake's whipping strike. The strike throws him into a faraway mountain, which hurts quite a lot. Naruto stands up and dives back into the battle. Thor bursts from the earth in a wrath, spewing lightning all around him. "You will pay." Thor first launches many lightning bolts at the snake, but as he is ready to discharge them at Naruto, he is halted by a battle cry reaches his ears, and he turns to see many zombies coming at him. HMPHI, Thor, again distracted by his senses, spins around to parry Naruto's assault. Naruto, now wielding a massive war hammer with two ram heads, is thwarted by Thor's movement of Mjolnir. The collision generates a shockwave that blows the zombies away. "No matter, they weren't mine, but Hella's," Naruto says inwardly. Shifting his body weight, Thor untangles Mjolnir from the struggle, cocks back, and swings his hammer towards his face. Seeing the attack coming, the war hammer transforms into a shield that blocks the attack, pushing Naruto to the left slightly. Naruto retaliates with a thrust from a suddenly appearing spear. Thor tilts his head to the left, narrowly avoiding the assault, while Naruto and Thor take another hit from Jormungandr, throwing them into the air. Nevertheless, Naruto still grabs onto Thor and begins hitting him repeatedly while flying through the sky. Naruto connects 3 before Thor snatches his hand, inserting it inside Mjolnir's strap and releasing the hammer. Naruto, dragged by the hammer, falls directly into the poisoned earth. Naruto, briefly unable to take up the hammer, summons his great sword and cuts the straps. Die. Thor, with lightning flashing about him, flies into Naruto's side and propels him directly into Jormungandr's face. Another shockwave from the strike begins to harm the surrounding mountains and terrain. The snake is the first to recover, furious at the annoyances. Storms of many types arise in the sky, and lightning strikes down erratically, demolishing mountainsides and triggering minor earthquakes. A dark crimson miasma begins to be discharged. Anything that comes into contact with it begins to degrade and dissolve almost immediately. Thor and Jormungandr focus their gaze at the feet. A ray of energy hits Jormungandr in the body, propelling the giant back leagues. Naruto dashes toward Thor, his bottomless wrath and bloodlust transforming his face into a grisly expression of hatred so powerful that it influences his surroundings. Thor and Naruto fought again. Naruto's rage remained blazing, growing hotter with each encounter. Naruto slashed at Thor as the two gods closed in on him. Thor parried with Mjolnir, but Naruto just altered the cut to a thrust. He sliced and pushed at Thor mercilessly, forcing him around what remained of the surface, never allowing him to regain his equilibrium. Thor furiously parried and attempted to counter, but Naruto pushed on, never giving up the initiative. Thor attempts to overpower Naruto with his superior strength by seizing Chaos Eater. But Naruto swings his gauntleted and clawed hand laced with destructive energy directly across Thor's face, sending him back into a mountain. Naruto begins his unrelenting attack by diving inside the god made hole and aims his sword directly at Thor's chest. In his warrior rage, Thor unleashes a flood of electrical energy directed by Mjolnir right into Naruto's body, knocking him back. Naruto summons a sword to stand on in midair and swings it with his destructive energy-filled sword, sending a soaring slice of destructive energy towards the mountains, effortlessly slicing through whole mountain tops and triggering massive explosions with a flick of his will. An infuriated snake rushes at Naruto with his head, generating yet another shockwave, while Naruto flees from the force, summoning and morphing hundreds of weapons into numerous huge buzzsaws, and firing them at Jormungandr. The snake bends under the enormous anguish he is experiencing. The saws successfully cut into the snake, and blood gushes out into the ground and sea, coloring everything scarlet. "I'll kill you." Thor shoots from debris directly toward Jormungandr, landing on top of its skull and hammering Mjolnir repeatedly until he is pushed off. Another beam approaches the two, and both dodge it. However, not all is lost when Naruto arrives in front of Jormungandr, on the snake's face. When Naruto finally confronts the snake alone, Jormungandr pulled his head back, narrowly turning a head-cleaving hue into a gash across his face. In astonishment and agony, Jormungandr strikes out, killing everything in its path. While Naruto is jumping from the serpent, Thor grabs him and transports him far into the sky, where Thor unleashes his entire force. Multiple clouds fire tremendous bolts of lightning or tornadoes onto Naruto as he just struggles to free Thor's grip. "I told you I'd kill you," and burst of pure heavenly energy almost destroys the atmosphere. The clouds spread throughout the world as the earth ruptures due to the shockwave, which also affects the snake and pushes it into the already devastated ground. Minutes pass in complete calm, and suddenly two figures burn up as they fall to the earth, setting up a dust storm due to the power of their impact. "You cough you bastard, I told you I'd kill you." Thor climbs out of one of the massive holes the two of them created. Thor's divinity and power have been depleted by the snake and sword assaults and hits, as well as the claw marks that are presently shredding his face while his heavenly body attempts to repair it. The snake can pummel you constantly, and Naruto can do the same. Thor hears armored footsteps. Damn it, he thinks. Thor's point of view: I attempted to get up to meet my attacker, but suddenly a beam of that energy struck me in the leg. I was tossed down on the floor like an abandoned toy, and when I opened my half-lidded eyes, I saw him grinning victoriously at me. In that moment, all I could feel was anger for him and a burning desire to do something about it. I wanted to fight, to kill. I didn't care if it meant killing myself. I lurched to my feet. My legs shook, but I jumped right into the action. My fists and Mjolnir sought to pound each inch of flesh they could find, and the throbbing in my brain had subsided into a dull anguish. All that mattered was wrapping my hands around his throat, squeezing till he became purple, then tightening around his neck until he screamed. Enough! I sailed into the air and landed with a thump. My hammer landed many feet distant, hot blood streamed down my cheeks, and the thick liquid blurred my eyesight. Even though my lungs screamed in anguish, and everything within me protested, I staggered back to my feet. Third point of view: there was a loud bang, and Thor was thrown backward, striking the ground hard again. Naruto closed in and gazed down on him from where he lay, hammerless and defenseless. Naruto's pale visage, lit by the blazing of his eyes, was filled with fury. "The belt of strength you wear, it allows Yoge to pick up the hammer, yes?" Naruto asks the badly battered god. Thor doesn't respond, so Naruto takes the belt away from him and puts it on. A sense of strength pervades Naruto's heavenly blood. Naruto muses as he turns to pick up Mjolnir a few feet distant. Naruto goes down and grips the handle, carefully lifting it before attempting to unleash Thor's might. He doesn't look like Marvel Thor, so why would I obtain Thor's power by picking up the hammer? Naruto returns to Thor's damaged body. He swung at his face. Thor was thrown backward onto the ground after feeling a white-hot, whip-like item slap him across the face. Spots of light appeared in front of his eyes, and for a brief instant, all breath seemed to have left his body. Naruto continued to attack Thor with his own weapon, until Thor's skull began to dent somewhat. He stops there and clutches Thor's left ankle, dragging him to Jormungandr. Finally, after an hour of wandering, he opens the comatose snake's mouth and sets Thor on its tongue. Stepping back, Naruto summons Chaos Eater and starts to charge the destructive energy in his blade. The only reason the energy did not suddenly eliminate the serpent and Thor was because he need enough time to charge up. The more charge, the greater devastation. After 5 minutes, Naruto decides he's had enough and leaps onto the snake's head, stabbing through it and into Thor's chest. Now, destroy! A pulse of devastation emanating from the sword in Naruto's body begins to demolish the whole nation and the sea around it, annihilating Thor, Jormungandr's entire body, land, and water indiscriminately. Now floating on the remnant water, surrounded by unknown landscapes, Naruto displays Thor's seized weapon, Mjolnir. Naruto fills with Thor's divinity, and lightning starts to gather around him, but Naruto chooses to rest before it becomes any larger. Naruto is the god of war, blood, lightning, storms, strength, martial prowess, destruction, honor, berserk madness, battle strategy, weapons, and fertility. Considering God's divinity, I wonder who I may target next. Hachiman, you may be asking why Naruto murdered Thor. Why? Naruto doesn't care. He doesn't care whether Odin or Heimdall see him since they'll both die soon, and Norse mythology has no real value in the DC reality. In fact, Zeus murdered Thor with a single blow, when Thor flung the Mjolnir at him and Zeus grabbed it and tossed it back. If it was Marvel Thor, I'd buy it, but DC Thor has no significance, so I thought, Thor is a bitch produced in DC, but Mjolnir is nice, I want Naruto to have it, so, there you go. Pav Helheim, it is a place of unrelenting cold. Fires cannot burn there, and no magic in the 9 realms can start a flame. For others, the atmosphere is dismal, but for me, it seems like home. Nagfar is finally free of its moorings, and I can sense vitality returning to my body. The ship built from the dead's finger and toenails will readily navigate the flooded terrain my son has created. With the crew as an army of giants, no one will be able to stop us, not even my clown of a nephew, Thor. Fenrir, my son, will race over the land, consuming everything in his path, with fire flashing from his eyes and nostrils. Jormungandr, my other son, will spew his venom over the planet, polluting land, sea, and air equally. Third Pav, my king, I knew about the trumpet blast, Heimdall. How could I not? Now tell me about the scenario. The dome of the sky has been split, and from the crack emerged the fire giants from Muspelheim. Their leader? The next section makes Odin nervous. Surtur, their commander, wields a fiery blade as dazzling as the sun. They march over what remains of the Bifrost, since the bridge has collapsed behind them. You will lead the Aesir to confront them at Vigrid, am I clear? Yes, I'll leave immediately. Odin departs to collect the Einherjar, to fight the powers of darkness. After assembling a large number of gods for combat, Heimdall traveled to Vigrid to block the invasion and await Odin's arrival. With him stood innumerable gods of all kinds. From battle and conquest to flowers and grass, they were all willing to die for their land. Surtur with his fire giants and Muspelheim demons are visible to the gods on the grounds of Vigrid. Next to him, commanding his troops, is Loki. Sif screams venom at his name, yet she still doesn't forgive him for chopping her gorgeous hair. Many gods disliked Loki, but he managed to talk his way back into their good graces. The army of the dead, which Loki commands, stands behind him. Men and women from Helheim. This army consists of the dead corpses of individuals who died a humiliating death, all of whom desired greatness but were unable to acquire it while living. Out of the ocean, ships float through the fog, each carrying Jotuns, all of whom are eager for deity blood. Odin arrives on the side of the gods, riding his beloved 8-legged horse, Sleipnir. On his right and left were his wolf pals, Jerry and Freki, as well as his raven companions, Hugin and Munin. We knew that the great battle was inevitable. We've been ready for this day for thousands of years. The gates of Valhalla opened behind him, and thousands of soldiers emerged from the vast hall, becoming Odin's mighty army. This army was made up of the greatest soldiers who, while living, died heroically and honorably. As soon as the army had settled, Odin, riding his magnificent 8-legged horse, ordered the assault. Thousands of superpowered individuals were poised to engage in the largest conflict in history. War gods from throughout the planet and other pantheons felt their blood boil and their bodies begin to respond. Each war god became more strong, as if their divinity was shouting at them, "Go kill something." Naruto felt powerful again, and he rapidly recovered from his last fight. He can feel his wrath and bloodlust rising again. However, such mortal sayings cannot quench the hunger for a conflict of gods. Naruto's expression transforms into one of bloodlust once again, as it begins to spread forth. Summoning Mjolnir into his hand, he performs the move Thor used when battling him and precisely launches himself into the air, hovering while attempting to find the battlefield. He detects divine blood being shed and rockets off towards it. On the battlefield, the energies of the gods and evil clashed, causing Yggdrasil to quake. Hiram, commanding the ice giants, initiated a ferocious struggle against Odin's forces, cleaving through dozens of soldiers with a single stroke of his battle axe. Others were also fighting viciously. With Loki leading the dead, he continued to murder innumerable opponents, utilizing the chaos as a weapon, gradually making his approach to Heimdall to blind the fool. Frey and his golden boar, together with some of his Vanir brothers and sisters, battled valiantly against the legions of fire giants and demons. Slaying them as they came, the Vanir were no slouches in fight, and with their magical talents, they were a formidable opponent. Frey demonstrated his courage by attacking Surtur bravely, knowing he would not win, but doing it nevertheless. He tried his best, but it wasn't enough. Surtur smote the god down with his blazing sword, killing not just Frey but also a number of his fellow Vanir. As so, Frey was the first deity to fall in the battlefield. Tyr, Odin's son, was the second of the valiant gods to fall. However, he did not die without a struggle, meeting Garm, the wolf that guards the dead, in a huge battle. He ultimately met his death, but not before spearing the wolf in the heart and dragging it out with him. Many gods began to fall after that, especially when the terrifying Fenrir appeared in the fight, specifically hunting for Odin. Odin knew that facing the beast was his ultimate fate, so he rode fearlessly. Gungnir is staring ahead, dashing headfirst to his final end. Fenrir also charged forward, opening his vast jaws and eating any unfortunate warriors or gods in his path. Odin ultimately leaps off his horse, spear held high in both hands, and plunges straight into Fenrir's neck. As he descends down Fenrir's throat, Odin plunges his spear along the insides of his body, ripping up his throat and eventually portions of his stomach. Fenrir, seeing the battling deity attempting to murder him from inside, just chuckles and starts to ridicule the Aesir's wisest. Pathetic old god, struggle pointlessly. Hearing such irritating statements filled the hearts of the remaining warriors and gods with hatred. Vidar, Odin's own son, charged the wolf in rage. Seeing another easy kill, he opens his maw once more, but Vidar lands on the wolf's tongue, attempting to crush his enemy with his powerful jaws. He bites down harder, but Vidar, equipped with specially made wolf fighting gear, pushes back with all his strength and fury, tearing Fenrir's jaw in half and showering the battlefield in blood. Hehehehe, so much to play with. Naruto eventually arrives to the battlefield and observes the deluge of blood. Even after his son died, Loki was content with the devastation and deaths of the gods. Do you think I would not notice you, Loki? Hey, of course you did. You always notice. Heimdall, unimpressed, rushes to Loki and launches an attack. The flexibility of the fight made the duel seem like a lethal dance of swords. Each of them has their unique strategy for winning. Loki hopped over Heimdall. Heimdall stepped aside to allow him to land safely, but then immediately closed in on him, twitching the sword in his right hand. Don't look at the knife, silly man, Loki told him. You must fix your gaze upon your opponent's eyes just as your sister stares into mine when I am pleasuring her. Heimdall concluded that this was sufficient and looped his right arm over his torso, pulling the blade back into position to launch a haymaker. Part of the aim was to persuade Loki that his predicted taunts had truly gotten him upset. So he let out a yell as he threw himself at Loki, unleashing a powerful backhanded blow. Loki's power could never withstand a scything onslaught from the heavier sword, so he had no alternative but to drop his blade and step aside, letting it whoosh past. But Heimdall's aggressive surge would put him in dagger range. So Loki brought his right foot, which had been first, back while spinning on his left, turning sideways to let Heimdall to pass him. At the same moment, he lifted his left hand to stab the blade into his ribs as he passed past. Everything went as planned except for the final portion. Instead of rushing by rising up, Heimdall planted his feet and plunged forward, leaving his trunk too low to receive Loki's blade. The backhanded slash had caused his torso to rotate from left to right, and as he hurtled past, he spun to face his opponent's legs. Heimdall's left arm and shoulder went through first, extending to absorb his collision with the ground. Then his head, right arm, and sword trailed down his body. As soon as his left elbow hit the peat, he curved his arm around and grasped Loki's right leg, locking it against his torso. Loki, who is now unexpectedly stranded, attempts to unleash his magic, but is hit in the heart directly beneath his light armor. In a final act of desperation, Loki summons a dagger and stabs Heimdall in the neck, striking true. Now that he is dying, he laments not utilizing his sword or magic at the outset of the conflict. A storm starts to form as Surtur prepares to demolish Asgard. He had gone a time ago, but his soldiers are still there. Lightning starts to hit the battlefield, killing hundreds of soldiers from both sides. He, now I can force specific feelings on gods. Naruto ponders as he uses his new abilities to go on a killing spree. Loki, the first of many test subjects, you have my gratitude. Naruto wanted to see whether his emotional control via war induction could finally work on gods, and he was successful, adding tremendous quantities of hubris to his already vast stores. Why couldn't Loki see his mind being messed with? The conflict is energizing Naruto in ways he has never experienced before. Being so near to the main god of war helps. Many gods across the globe and in Norse mythology have war divinities, but many of them also have a variety of other divinities. Therefore their war divinity is not as powerful as Naruto's, who has practically all of his divinity linked to war, violence. As he has a better understanding of his new abilities, he begins to put them to the test on the battlefield. Naruto conjures many tornadoes to the battlefield with a single thought, sucking in and suffocating many of his adversaries. They are also draining their abilities, primarily those associated to battle and procreation. With another flick of his will, Naruto conjures hundreds of weapons and showers the battlefield in an attempt to generate more holy blood. The battlefield is complete anarchy, with many sides unaware of what is going on and in a murdering frenzy, unable to control their bodies as they are attacked with lethal lightning, tornadoes, and raining swords. Eventually, the earth was only moistened with gallons of holy blood. For the first time, Naruto gets control over god blood and causes it to rise from the earth, dragging with it corpses, still living gods, and giants. Now die, all of you. Naruto unleashes a blood tsunami that drowns all living things on the battlefield, leaving only a few hundred giants, zombies, and gods. The tsunami devastates the remaining fighters, drowning them in the blood of their friends and adversaries. Naruto slowly drops to the earth, gasping hard, and his blood high begins to subside. I hate being like that. Because of his berserk madness, if pushed too far or if he participates in a large-scale conflict, Naruto will go insane, drastically boosting his skills while losing control of himself. Looking over the destroyed ground, he once again contributes to creation. It's time to move on. Wait, I'll skin Fenrir and get magical immunity on my clothing and armor. Damn it, I could have discovered a method to skin Jormungandr and acquired some really amazing armor. No matter what happened in the past, let's get to skinning. I am confident I could also have Heimdall's eyes inserted. In Helheim, the ruler of the realm of the dead sits in silence while her father and army are killed by an alien deity. MMMHMM, you'll do a great job and be extremely strong. Oh, I can't wait to meet you. Sorry if you like Norse mythology. Third Pav, the deaths of the Norse gods were felt by every divine person on earth, and it marked the beginning of numerous pantheons' ambitions. Gods from all pantheons came on the battlefield, each hunting for important items to profit on, such as Thor's legendary gloves, Gunnar, Mjolnir, Tyr's weaponry, Loki's sword, and even Sleipnir. However, they discovered only plundered corpses of deceased gods. Even Heimdall's eyes were gone. Who could have done such a thing? The individual only had a restricted time period. When the gods felt Ragnarok's end, they all appeared. The finale comes when Surtur destroys Asgard, therefore the person who accomplished this had to act quickly. Naturally, gods did not take this lightly. WHO took Mjolnir, that was mine to take, would they dare to show their face? A Celtic deity rages from his pantheon. That is too bad. I had hoped to nick the famed eyes of Heimdall. Ah, the stories I could tell then. Anasi sighs unhappily. He couldn't get here quickly enough. Not angry with the criminal, but unhappy with himself. Countless battle gods rage over the Aesir's lost weapons. Surprisingly, the Japanese were the only ones who didn't seem to be upset. How interesting. Tsukuyomi murmurs loudly. So, someone was here, while the fighting was happening. Susanoo begs his brother. Yes, if you look at the cuts on their bodies, these aren't weapons made by neither sides that were fighting. Hachiman responds in lieu of Tsukuyomi. Yes, but they did not all perish as a result of these weapons. A large number of them died from drowning. A figure viewing a body responds. What do you mean, Sujin? I mean they died to drowning, but not water. Sujin is interrupted by the Empress. Blood. They were drowned in blood, a lot of them were, both sides. A god of weapons, most likely war, since they had this much power to kill so many gods, he must have been empowered by the raging conflict, and god of blood. I don't know about every pantheon, but I'm familiar with several. The most well-known ones missing are Mesopotamia, Buddhism, Hinduism, Greek, the younger Romans, and Egypt. Tsukuyomi explains. My Empress, I know, I felt it. Felt what, Amaterasu? Susanoo and Tsukuyomi inquire concurrently. Someone is on the borders of Japan, looking for a way in, perhaps asking for permission. Shall we return immediately? Yes, we now depart. With the confirmation, the Shinto pantheon promptly leaves the battlefield and returns to their homeland to confront the invader. The big number of gods that arrived with Amaterasu trapped the interloper. The majority of them recognized him as a deity, a strong one at that. Who are you, intruder? Hachiman is the first to open. Tsukuyomi and Susanoo prepare to use their abilities to defeat him. I am Naruto, god of war, from Greek. The deity responds. From Greek? Why are you here? Tsukuyomi questions Naruto. I am traveling the world, looking for different pantheons. Why? Tsukuyomi asks. Naruto responds, why what? Why did you kill a number of Norse gods? Amaterasu has inquiries for her brother. She identifies the belt on his person as being composed of Nordic runes. Thor attacked me, this leading to the snakes and a number of giants and gods' death. He responds unashamedly, confessing genocide against a pantheon. You wiped out an entire pantheon, because one being attacked you? Susanoo asks, expecting for a yes. If that were the case, Susanoo would have already begun to like the deity. Yes, I like him already. Susanoo is already mentally friending the deity. Can I stay with you and explore your lands? Naruto asks. Only if you allow the study of certain treasure and items you've plundered. We can keep a few, and you teach us of Greece. Only if you let me visit here forever in the future will I be able to retain a few, and you will teach me Japanese war skills. You wish to travel here more in the future? Amaterasu inquires, almost suspiciously. Yes, I wish to establish a few businesses here in the future and travel here. I heard it was beautiful. Ha, indeed it is. Amaterasu replies with a cunning expression on her face. I would ask for only a few of the treasures to be given to us. How about the horn of Heimdall, Thor's gloves and, one of Tyr's weapons? One of Tyr's weapons, you say? How generous of you. You must have a lot of his weapons then. You must not need the gloves of Thor to wield his hammer since you offered them up first, and who would care of a horn? Tsukuyomi explains the reasons behind Naruto's proposals. Honestly, you can have Sleipnir with that, Naruto declares. Hee, you have a great sense of humor. What can I assist you with? Considering the level of respect you've shown by not requesting Mjolnir and Gingnir, I won't ask for Aim no Nuhoko, either. How would he have knowledge of such a matter? Several deities stand behind the trio, voicing their concerns, as Amaterasu, Susanoo, and Tsukuyomi regard the war god with suspicion. Hachiman, as always, has a great suggestion. May I recommend one of the Tatsuka no Tsurugi? Amaterasu promptly requests Naruto's input on the matter. What do you think of the Aim no Mikakoyumi, and one of Muramasa's blades? Tsukuyomi suggests. Wait, that's 2 blades and a divine bow. If you include another weapon or any other valuable item, we can make a deal, Amaterasu says. The bodies of Odin's pets and the body of Odin's brother, Loki. The possibilities of such a deal are met with great enthusiasm. However, I would request the opportunity to receive training from a diverse range of experts. Amaterasu's expression shifts to one of bewilderment. What kind of training are you looking for? Developing a stronger mastery of my abilities amidst periods of intense conflict. Amaterasu is momentarily puzzled, but quickly responds, I agree to your proposition, young god. What are you doing, Naruto? Hachiman approaches me, contemplating mortality. His expression briefly reflects confusion. Death? Do you fear death, Naruto? I have no fear of death. I had existed for an immense span of time prior to my birth, and had experienced no discomfort whatsoever as a result. And you? How about yourself? I have no fear of death. I simply prefer not to be present when it occurs. He responds to me in a professional manner. That somehow struck me as amusing, even though it wasn't particularly humorous. I just couldn't help but laugh. Third-person point of view. Hachiman gazed at his companion with a sense of accomplishment, as he had never before succeeded in bringing joy to another deity. What about mortals? They have a deep-seated fear of death. You see, it is an intriguing phenomenon, the passing of a cherished individual. Everyone is aware of the finite nature of their existence, understanding that one day they will rest eternally, never to regain consciousness. And yet it is always unexpected when it happens to someone you are acquainted with. It feels like ascending the stairs to a bedroom in the dark, and mistakenly assuming there is an extra step. You step down, through the air, and there is a sudden moment of unexpected realization as you attempt to reevaluate your perspective. Naruto speaks out, momentarily forgetting to maintain a professional demeanor when discussing mortals, shifting from a detached observer to someone speaking from personal experience. He carries on. If someone you deeply cared for passed away, did they take a piece of your heart with them? Do you find yourself living with an everlasting void that cannot be satisfied? Naruto declares. When he passed away, all things gentle, lovely, and radiant were laid to rest alongside him. Hachiman ponders over Naruto's words, struggling to grasp his choice of language. Do you understand the experience of being mortal, Naruto? Hachiman inquires, devoid of any sense of curiosity or engagement, but rather with an attempt to establish a connection. Naruto provides an elusive response. You're familiar with the common saying among mortals, right? Your life flashes before your eyes in the face of death. Well, it's true, it's just a part of life. Hachiman is overcome with a profound silence in response to Naruto's words. You mention a significant loss. I am aware of it. During a time when I was still a mere mortal, my father passed away. It felt as though my affection for him was so strong that it brought about some sort of divine retribution, leaving me feeling incomplete. However, the statement he made to me on his deathbed has always remained deeply ingrained in my memory. To live in the hearts we leave behind is not to die. I've been inquiring with those around me about the experience of dying and whether or not it is painful. And they replied, yes, but it's much more painful to go on living. I may not have information about the details of your loss, Naruto, but I understand how deeply it has affected you. I am unfamiliar with your knowledge of mortal struggles, and it does not concern me. However, I will share with you a sentiment that I have learned to embrace. Those we love do not depart, but rather, they remain by our side each day. Unseen, unheard, but always near, still loved, still missed and very dear. I wish that any challenges you faced improve, Naruto. Hachiman finishes his conversation with Naruto, giving him a reassuring pat on the shoulder before departing, leaving Naruto deep in contemplation. Hachiman strolls through the palace, admiring its exquisite beauty. What insights did you acquire from the Greek, Hachiman? He becomes aware of the presence of Amaterasu behind him. With a respectful gesture, he speaks to her. I was informed about the weather, Your Majesty. It is truly a splendid day. Hachiman held her in high regard and had known her long before Naruto entered the picture. However, he considered their conversation to be a private matter, something he would never disclose to anyone else. Amaterasu's perspective peaceful. That's how I would characterize the past 50 years. Despite the minor inconveniences I've encountered over time, they couldn't bother me on a day like today. Empress Amaterasu. I could easily identify the voice of Naruto anywhere. A person who moves with a sleek and deliberate grace as they navigate the room. His voice exudes a powerful energy, a testament to his strength. An impressive physique, bolstered by strong and sturdy muscles. What is truly frightening about him? His eyes. His eyes were as cold as an Arctic wind, two emotionless pools of deep, dark orbs. Hello Naruto. I respond to him with minimal effort. I wanted to let you know that I will be leaving. I am departing today, he informs me. I can't help but display a certain expression on my face. I was completely taken aback by his sudden departure. What? His expression remains completely neutral. How unfortunate. You're departing. Already? What about Hachiman? He's been around for thousands of years. I believe he will continue to thrive without my presence. What is going on? I easily brush off the surprise. Third-person point of view. I plan on revisiting Egypt and Greece. Naruto addresses the woman who has been persistently seeking information about him since his arrival. I cannot keep you here. Why didn't you simply leave? Naruto remains silent, unable to provide a response. Will Hachiman ever have the opportunity to see you again? Indeed, he replies. I understand. The duo stand in a brief silence as Amaterasu gathers her thoughts. You can't stay any longer, my friend, Hachiman inquires with a serious demeanor. No, I will not. Will we have the opportunity to meet again in the future? Naruto inquires of him. Absolutely, without a doubt. Naruto agrees with his statement. Stepping away from his companion, onto the stunning beach of Japan, Ruin rises from the earth in a fiery display of power. Let's go, my friend, to Egypt. He addresses his mount in a professional manner. Reflecting on his time in Japan, he observes the group of acquaintances he made. Please proceed. Ruin soars through the air with incredible speed, leaving a blazing trail in his wake. And off he goes. Hachiman murmurs to himself. Ruin displayed exceptional prowess as he effortlessly traversed various terrains, including water. Any observer would have been captivated by his magnificent radiance, akin to that of a shining star. It's time to come back. Unspecified perspective. The desert was quite frustrating. I hadn't encountered any living beings for 3 days and I had run out of water. It was an incredibly isolated and solitary environment, unlike any I had experienced before. I felt like an outsider in a vast desert. Last night, the only signs of life were the scratching sounds outside the light of the campfire. I could only think that these are those individuals who identify as Christians. It seemed as though this place had been stripped of all its natural elements. I thought I had observed the footprints of a desert fox, but it turns out I was mistaken. Perhaps it was the chaos of my life, or the barrenness of the desert. The dry and desolate nature of this barren landscape was challenging to describe. It was a challenging and desolate environment, a vast and arid basin. The enormity of it overwhelmed my mind, with the only solace being the sight of a prickly cactus from a jumping chala bush. Everywhere I looked, dishes were being expertly cooked and prepared with equal passion. At that moment, I believed I caught sight of another sun, just another hallucination. It became instantly brighter. One moment it was far away, then it appeared right beside me. May I have your name, please? It caught my attention. Is there a deity? Is there such a thing as a true god? Greetings, my lord. I approached this with great care and caution. Throughout my extensive experience, I have never come across such a phenomenon. I am visible to you. That's intriguing. I am informed. Yes. May I offer my assistance, my lord? Could you please? I asked it in a highly respectful manner. It has been a while since I inquired, and it seems that he is carefully considering my question. I wonder if he will ultimately agree? No, the light suddenly vanishes, leaving me stranded in this unforgiving desert. I strongly disagree with your actions and find them unacceptable. The desert has tested my endurance, but I am determined to escape and overcome any obstacles in my path. Naruto's perspective quite fascinating. I encountered you in this manner. Initially, I believed I had encountered a figure of great significance. Perhaps even Moses or Muhammad. Due to my limited understanding of Judaism and Islam, I have struggled to remember the stories of their prophets. However, that misconception vanished when I genuinely focused on the individual in need and listened to his story. Hello there. AKA the epitome of expertise and mastery. Confused in the desert, dressed in a manner reminiscent of an ancient Israelite. Maybe overlooked during Moses' 40-year journey in the desert. Clearly attempting to accomplish something with Moses and his assembly of Israelites. It's unfortunate that the story should have been left behind a while ago. Can you believe he's been lost in the desert for such an incredibly long time? I couldn't help but smile at the news. A small chuckle escaped my mouth. He will eventually find someone on his own. There is no need to assist him. My perspective, the sky had a deep shade of purple, reminiscent of juniper. A symphony of buzzing filled the atmosphere. The stars shone brightly, guiding those who were searching for direction. With my strings, I created a harmonious blend that resonated in the breeze. The scent of ramsons wafted towards my nostrils as the clouds hung against the seemingly endless summer sky. with a touch of elegance and sophistication. I once again engaged in my activities, this time with a more aggressive approach. The wind possessed a formidable power, unleashing a destructive force that mercilessly tore through everything in its wake, leaving nothing intact: the tree, grass, insects, and even the sand dunes hundreds of miles away. I had started practicing again, for Naruto. I patiently and faithfully awaited his return. He assured me of his comeback, and I had complete faith in him. Thanks to my extensive experience and active participation in various projects, my reputation has grown significantly. I was given the name Neith, Goddess of War, Wisdom and Weaving. I embraced the title wholeheartedly. Maybe Naruto would see me as a suitable partner for marriage. They even bestowed upon me the title of Mother to Sobek, Lord Ra, and Aapep. Only those lacking wisdom may face the consequences of their actions. An intense burst of light flooded my senses, accompanied by the rhythmic sound of hooves pounding on the soft, warm sand, instantly triggering a rush of memories. Naruto. I had never experienced such a high velocity before, causing the air to contort around me. I caught a glimpse of him. He possessed an exceptional level of attractiveness that was truly remarkable. The sleek mother-lode cream-white hair cascaded from behind his hood. His well-defined features enhanced his overall appearance. With a refined charm, his chiseled jawline and strong shoulders exuded a sense of power. He exuded a remarkable skill, commanding strength, and moved with confidence and control. Neith. He spoke to me in a very formal manner, finally, after a considerable amount of time. Naruto. At last. I was filled with awe when I saw it, a slight smile on his face. Yes, I've come to invite you to join me. Are you willing to come along? I managed to compose myself and replied, certainly, I will be fully committed until the very end. Sure, follow me. I have complete control over you now, forever. A stream of vibrant turquoise meandered through the lush forest, adding a touch of enchantment to the surroundings. Flowing gracefully over limestone rocks in its path. Streams are vital to the ecosystem of the forest. I finally had a chance to unwind after a while. Next to me stood Neith, maintaining her natural form as I assumed a human appearance. I realized that perhaps adopting a more personal approach would enable me to express my emotions more effectively. So I took the form I had before dying, my original form. Following the tragic loss of my former wife Hinata and my troublesome son, I was driven by a strong desire for vengeance against Otsutsuki. Eventually, I managed to locate them and successfully eliminate every last one of them using my powerful Baryon mode. After that, I perished alongside Kurama. However, I discovered that I had transformed into a tall Caucasian man shortly after experiencing a traumatic incident involving a machete. So, what motivated your decision to adopt a mortal appearance? I wouldn't have expected that from someone like you. Neith drove me crazy. I considered speaking in my native accent, but ultimately decided against it. I wondered if she would even be able to understand me. Hee, impulsive thinking. Do you approve of it? I inquired with her. She was taken aback by my casual response. Clearly she was observant of the way I spoke in this particular form. What's going on, Naruto? This behavior is out of character for you. Despite her surprise, I notice a faint smile on her face. I gaze at my reflection in the river. I observed myself, reflecting on the wounds I had. I proudly kept them as a symbol of my professionalism. I have blue eyes that emit a striking crimson glow when I harness my abilities. I used to have quite the way with the ladies back in my prime. Oh, how time flies. I should have pursued a career in modeling, with my hair styled in a fashionable manner. Sometimes it was effortlessly messy, while other times it was sleek and elegant. I examined my eyebrows, which had a unique shape that was both slender and full. There was a scar on them caused by a machete. I had a commanding nose and sharp cheekbones that tapered down to a strong jaw. And as always, I proudly displayed a strong and muscular physique, as my friends affectionately referred to it. I remember effortlessly gliding without missing a step, thanks to my exceptional skills. It is necessary to inhabit this mortal form. I feel rejuvenated and refreshed. I remarked as I continued to examine my familiar yet unfamiliar body. What are your thoughts on it? I believe it's quite impressive. Certainly, I do appreciate it, she promptly responds. Naruto pondered whether she's concerned about him forming a lower opinion of her. Thank you for your kind words. So, what are your thoughts on children? I surprised her once again. Already? Let's begin? Ha ha ha, that's not what I meant, silly. I burst into laughter. Neith appeared flustered and perplexed. I don't have any feelings for you anyway. She pouted, which caused me to burst into laughter, tears streaming down my face as my stomach and cheeks began to ache slightly. After a while I regained my composure. Hey, I meant brain babies. She once again appeared confused. What is brain babies? Athena provided a thorough explanation to me. Essentially, babies are created through the thoughts we generate. Oh wow, that's quite intriguing. You're interested in creating a brain baby? Let's collaborate and create something amazing. Sure, please come closer to me. She does exactly that. As she nestles into my arms, I begin envisioning the creation of a baby I've been contemplating. Are you concerned about the presentation of this baby? I had considered sacrificing the baby's beauty in order to make it more intimidating. I explained to her, but to my surprise, she exceeded my expectations. I don't mind as long as it belongs to us, she states. For a moment, I was taken aback. I had always assumed that all gods shared the same perspective on beauty, much like Hera. Regaining composure, a smile graces my lips as I meet Neith's gaze. Leaning in, I gently capture her lips with mine and start. Our bodies emit a radiant burst of light, transforming into 3 small infants, each varying in size but equally diminutive. The brightness fades as the infants are unveiled to us, as we cease our affectionate gestures. All 3 have rather unique appearances. I carefully cradle the tiniest infant in my arms, drawing him near to both of us. I dub thee Matos, the unyielding. Neith attends to the middle child. I bestow upon you. She gazes at me for confirmation, which I readily provide, Bathos, a master of tempests. She remarks as she observes the lightning flickering in his eyes. We both eagerly reach for the last and biggest child and simultaneously declare his name. We hereby name you Thanos, the one who shatters worlds. Apologies for the romantic aspect. I am currently not inclined to write romance. I will save it for my next what if scenario. The fields had a vibrant shade of green. A symphony of chirping resonated through the atmosphere. The moon, floating in the sky like a shimmering silver sphere. The place exudes a refreshing and serene atmosphere, perfect for those seeking a peaceful getaway. However, for Thanos, Matos, and Bathos, it was their place of residence. They resided on the island of Themyscira for a decade, alongside the Amazons, engaging in playful activities, resolving conflicts, and nurturing their youngest daughter. Thanos, the eldest, had demonstrated his exceptional strength, endurance, and stamina. From an early age, he displayed a level of maturity beyond his years. Guiding the group of children consisting of Princess Diana, Artemis, Lo, Matos, and Bathos, Thanos displayed exceptional intelligence and leadership abilities. Matos, the middle-born, had established himself as the most ruthless. Mythos was exceptionally skilled in various forms of combat, including swordsmanship, spearfighting, axe-wielding, flail-handling, halberd techniques, and unarmed combat. Nevertheless, his demeanor takes a more intense turn when he confronts individuals whom he considers worthy in combat. The individuals include his father, Naruto, his mother, Neith, and Queen Hippolyta of the Amazons. Just because more people could defeat him at this age doesn't necessarily mean he would consider you worthy. Lastly, Bathos. People who were familiar with him would often mention his exceptional character, although his combat skills were not on par with Matos. Although he possessed remarkable strength, durability, and stamina, he did not possess the same level of ability as his brother Thanos. His mindset compensated for any lack of talent compared to his brothers. Determined and resolute. The level of determination he possessed was truly remarkable and unwavering. Confidence emanated from his eyes with pride. With Naruto as a father, the trio had high aspirations they would work hard to achieve. They trained tirelessly, whether it was by Naruto's design or their mother's, even in the comfort of their own home. Neith was a dedicated mother who attended to each boy individually and treated them all with equal amounts of affection. She had no intention of coddling her boys, despite her professional demeanor. I would never do such a thing. Neith silently acknowledges, reflecting on their current training. Each child had their own unique strengths and weaknesses, so Naruto expertly crafted a personalized training program for each of them. After their individual training sessions, Naruto would emphasize the importance of teamwork to their minds. Once more, Naruto departs. Observing his children, their chests heaving rapidly, struggling to breathe, perspiration pouring from their bodies. Every young man, relaxing on the lush green lawn. Rise and shine. You claimed victory this time, a high-pitched voice calls out. Excuse me, but you're interrupting. What if Lord Naruto becomes angry? Another voice softly speaks to the first, with a hint of fear in her words. Diana is suddenly filled with terror. Her loud outbursts could potentially anger Lord Naruto. Is he angry? What happens if he refuses to forgive her? What if? Please remain calm. A voice enters her ears. She glances up, surprised by his unexpected arrival. However, she notices that he is merely observing his sons, not anywhere close to her. Naruto's perspective after observing Diana's unnecessary paranoia and listening to my children bragging about my certain failure. I have come to the conclusion that kids can be quite bothersome. The trio had been roaming around the Mistira, boasting about their intention to finally defeat me to any Amazon who cared to listen. Most people didn't, and I am grateful for that. Taking into account such absurd claims may lead to further complications down the line. It's good to see some improvement in their teamwork. Given the current exhaustion levels, Thanos, please proceed to perform a series of sprints across the entire island, with a distance of 10 feet between each sprint, covering all the beaches. Matos, please capture Ruin and bring her back to me. Bathos, you are ready to conquer a formidable mountain. I have a list of activities to do. Excuse me, for how long? Matos asks me, feeling upset about my orders. Until I become fatigued. I must admit, I am well aware that I never tire, if only. They all sound busy as they quickly go about their tasks. I sense Neith approaching me. Glancing at her, a sense of amusement spreads across her face, causing me to also find it amusing. You are. She hesitates, searching for the right word. I am him, no further explanation necessary. I reply as I lean in closer to her. How about we go back home? I could use a relaxing soak, she says with a hint of suggestion. I quickly understand, carefully considering the advantages and disadvantages as I always do. With every decision I make, I am always mindful and cautious. I did it once more. You read my mind. I have been feeling a bit unclean. I am deeply embarrassed and sincerely apologize. And thus, time continued to pass, as it always does. Time passed, stretching from days to weeks, then to months, and eventually to years. Those years stretched out to nearly a century, precisely 90 years. The boys had transformed into formidable and commanding warriors. They both developed wonderfully. They have all been trained in the art of ending lives. They had extensive experience in combat, having encountered both mortals and monsters. Their father had emphasized the importance of becoming accustomed to the act of killing, disregarding any moral considerations surrounding the taking of a life. He was not willing to tolerate their bloodthirsty behavior. If he ever discovered that they were engaging in acts of violence purely for their own pleasure, he would unleash a merciless punishment upon them, disregarding any notion of immortality. As he once stated, I brought you into this life, I can also remove you. Now comfortably seated upon his throne in Olympus, a position he had not occupied for quite a while, a surge of power emanated from his being, causing a magnificent transformation into his divine state. War incarnate. Thanos pondered as he beheld his father's majestic figure for the very first time. Blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne. Matos quietly mutters a phrase to himself. Unbelievable strength, how is it possible for such a being to exist? Bathos inquires. The trio humbly kneels before his majestic throne, surrounded by a grand assembly of gods and goddesses, as they mark their momentous coming of age and reveal their divine destinies. Many people had tried to avoid them as much as possible due to their intimidating looks. Congratulations, my son. We warmly welcome your children to Mount Olympus. Now, let us commence. Zeus shouts loudly. The three fates make their appearance and commence their announcements. Introducing Thanos, the son of Naruto, deity of power and stamina. Someone declares to the room. Several gods and goddesses acknowledge Heracles as the deity of strength, although there are certainly others. They applaud, as is customary. Introducing Matos, the son of Naruto, a deity associated with battle, warriors, and the intensity of combat. Another destiny is foretold. The gods are unfazed by the news, as he was Naruto's child. It was only logical, they thought. Introducing Bathos, the son of Naruto, a deity embodying thunder, courage, and honor. Applause once again fills the air at the news. Once again, it was no surprise to them that he was Zeus's grandson. It seemed to be a logical conclusion. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to hit that like button and smash that subscribe for more amazing videos, and of course, drop a comment down below to let me know your thoughts.